All right, so it's the day after we finished sheeting. I spent an hour and a half this morning, kind of before I like to turn on equipment and stuff and wake up the neighbors. Just cleaning everything up and loading another load in the truck. So I just didn't want debris everywhere and scraps of wood everywhere. So I've just cleaned it all up. I'm keeping anything of length, especially that I can block into these drywall backers. And then anything around 12 inches or 14 inches that I can split into firewood kindling for our wood burning stove. I'm just piling. But all the smaller stuff the smaller stuff with nails and broken, I'm just throwing to take to the dump. So I've picked up all the foam that I'd scraped off from feeling seams, so I don't have to set it on ladders as I'm working in here today, doing all the drywall backers. So I'm gonna run to the dump, buy a bunch of hurricane ties and Simpson strong tie nails, and maybe some screws, not sure. And then we'll be rolling along. I think I'll start with the rat runs so that I can space the trusses appropriately, get all those nailed in, and then I'll do the backers. One thing I never did show you was this Snake River truss packet. So this came with the delivery of the trusses. The driver handed it to me. It just has kind of everything you might want to know about these trusses, technical warnings and terms and conditions. It has my my order number and the details on the trusses. So other info, has the technical drawings and the specs for the regular truss and then the gables. Has a lot of technical information about the plates, restraining and bracing of trusses, installation, recommendations for how to do that as you go. We did our own variation, like kind of a set of W's across, and then we used those metal spacers up there. All those aren't braces, and it says on them they're not meant to be braces. They do stabilize things a little bit as you're going. Has the truss layout, and then it has all kinds of information. Job site package, please review. All right, so I went and I bought the hurricane ties here, and then I bought the joist hanger nails, and they asked me if I wanted the gun with it, and because my arms are so freaking tired, I gotta put in so many, and then add on a back porch and so on and so forth. I was like, I'll just buy the gun. It's a couple $100 and I'll save my forearms from putting in all these crazy hurricane ties. So here we go. So putting in 4, 7, 10 nails. 10 nails per hurricane tie, so 900 nails. I mean, I can do that in seconds instead of pounding with the hammer on every one. So 100%, I'm glad I bought that gun for $200 just now. I wasn't gonna, I was like, nah, I don't need it. I can just hammer them, but no way. Do this. It's way faster. And it comes with just, you can buy these by the 1,000. and they're paper strips, which is way better. I hate those little plastic fasteners that pop you in the face and stuff. The shrapnel. Okay, the garage ties. The garage ties are done. Looks good. My wife's here to look at the paintings, or the windows. They're here. All right, they're all done. The only thing I haven't done is the corners. And then there's a few spots where the internal wall is right under the truss. So I'm gonna go get the single-sided angle brackets or ties that I have some somewhere and I can't find them. I'll need a handful. I'm gonna go do that so that it's done. I don't have to worry about hurricane ties. But that gun was slick. Maybe a waste of money. I don't know. But it made it sure go fast. I mean, it took me an hour and a half to do 90 ties and 1,000 shots. And I'll use it again when I put on the porch here, possibly an overhang out here to build my shed out here. So, and then when we build the house next to us, I'll use it again. And we might even kind of make a transition and start doing this all the time. So anyway, it's worth it to me. Also, the roofers are here. It's the day after we finish sheeting the roof. And he's a parent and he's a student at my virtual academies. And so they're up there getting things dried in. They put up the drip edge and now they're putting up the ice melt sheets, and then they'll do the waterproofing as well. It's taken me a couple hours of phone calls and trying to read these plans, but I think on my truss plans, it's calling for, the sling term is a rat run or just maybe a lateral support run of 2x6s all the way through the trusses from one end to the other at these points. And that allows the load to tie together. Man, that one's tricky scissored up in there. Anyway. And then at the ends, it's calling for angled, just based on their generic plans, because they didn't send me any detailed truss plans for my house. So I'm looking for their, where is it? I just had it here, so I could show you guys. Oh, there it is. And they're calling for angled brace supports off the gabled end coming in and going out. And so I'll run those as well. But those are kind of generic diagrams. One thing my brother, who's a builder in Utah, asked me, he's like, well, where's your detailed lateral support and angled support layout? Like, it'll tell you what trusses to tie into and what points to tie into, and I didn't get any of that, so I'm using the general layouts of what's here. So, and that should tie it all together. But it was a bit kind of that's one of the frustrations with not having, like those 5.5 days we hired my friend Greg, the builder of our other house. I could just turn to him and go, what do you think? And now I have to slow down, watch videos, text my brother. I texted Greg even, and just kind of cobble together their thoughts and then run with it. So, but this is such a simple layout that my brother's like, really just tie it together how they're basically showing you there, and you'll be fine, because it's not a complex network of multiple truss patterns tying in together. So anyway. All right, the hardest part about this whole thing is getting these things up. This plan calls for 2 runs on the insides of this V here, about halfway up. And just trying to get these 16 footers up into these V's is a fight, especially in the afternoon. I'm just sweating. And luckily right now I can walk along this wall, but out there I'll have to walk from truss to truss to truss. So maybe I need to YouTube a trick for getting these long ones up in here easily. But now that I'm looking at it, I wish we had someone on the ground with 2x16s and we were just feeding them up and dropping them in here as we set the trusses, and it just would have been easy, and then they just would have been laying here and pop, 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 pop. We just throw them in place. Even if we had an extra guy while we're going, but for sure once we had everything set. Anyway, I'm sure there's tricks of the trade, but again, this is do-it-yourselfer, trying to figure things out on the fly. And what I thought I'd be done with these runs and the hurricane ties this morning, and instead it's about 2:30. And I've done the hurricane ties and then sat here for almost 3 hours now, 2.5 hours, trying to figure out these runs. So here we go. All right, we got one whole run done, 90 feet. And now I'm gonna do the other down the middle of this V. This is the worst of everything we've done so far. Yeah, I'd recommend 2 people. And if anybody else has to do this, feed your boards up into these slots as you lay your trusses. Just having somebody feeding them up in there, a couple people, at least so they're laying in here. And then you just lift them up in place and pop, 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 pop as you go. Have another guy down there feeding you your cord. Anyway, here we go. I'm trying to get this done today so that we can focus on windows tomorrow and not have this hanging in front of us. I'd rather do the windows out there in the cool of the morning. So, all right. Second run is done. Took me an hour and a half to get those 2, doing it by myself. Now I think I need to do some cross diagonal stuff and maybe another 2 runs or 3 runs. My friend suggested I just do these 2 runs and then add my diagonal cross braces. I think it says every 10 trusses do a cross brace. So for me, that's like a couple here, 1 there, 1 there. Anyway, it's hard to know exactly what is needed, but we'll do our best. All right, I'm slowly figuring this out. I did my 2 lateral runs, I think is the term that they're called. And then I did a nice 12-foot angled brace attached to that gable end, angling down. And then I counted down 10 and then did a big 12-foot angled brace. And then I counted down 10 and I've got another angle brace, and then I'll do one at the very end. So, and then I think my plans technically call for 2 more runs down in the crease down in each side, so I'll probably do those too, even though someone recommended me that you don't need to do those the way your trusses are laid out, but I think I'll just go ahead and do it even though I'm tired. I got my last middle diagonal, so there's one there, 2 out in the middle, 10 trusses apart, or 10, yeah, apart, well, less than 10, just under 10, and then 1 down at the end, and then 2 lateral runs. And then I think I have to come back in and do a couple more, and then a couple more diagonals off. Their plan is generic, so I mean, I guess I get to pick where those diagonals come off of. And so that's why my friend suggested, well, your trusses are way smaller than, anyway, you may not need them, but I think I'll put them in somewhere because it can't hurt. And I've got the wood, so. For these diagonals, I use these 2x6s because I've got a whole pile down there that we're using to brace the walls. Whereas I'm out of these 2x4 16-footers. So. All right, I'm back at our other house, but you can see that the roofer got a weather wrap, whatever you call it. The ice shield in the first couple rows, and then weather sealed all the way up to the peak, and the drip edge, and then he's gonna do the other side on Monday. So pretty exciting, and I'm gonna pick back up again in the morning and finish those runs up in the attic just to make sure it's all just 100% just right, and then the roof should be locked down and ready for him to start shingling next week. And then we'll probably, my brother's coming, we'll probably spend the whole day putting in all these cross blocks above the walls for the ceiling sheetrock to tie into, and making sure all the vertical stud locations for drywall to catch corners and stuff, that there's studs everywhere there needs to be. I found a few this morning where I had to add a few studs. So that's what we'll be doing all day tomorrow, and maybe even putting in windows. So that's it.